morning, and thank you very much for joining us. I am Yori Folari. It's been quite a while, but I'm back on the block, and I missed you. Well, what is the date? I guess I can't say Happy New Year, but compliments of the season still in order. So good to be back. Now, my guest this morning is Chief, oh no, he doesn't like that, Mr. Ayo Padoku, statesman, convener, Coalition of Democrats for Electoral Reform, lawyer, and journalist. Good morning and compliments of the season.
It's a pleasure. Viewers, well, it's never late. Best of the season for you.
Indeed.
I wish that this 2017 will be a better year.
Indeed.
Where we will be able to rediscover ourselves as a nation and as a people.
Indeed. And as a matter of fact, that sort of nicely leads us on to what we'll be talking about, matters arising. There are quite a number of issues, really, that are out there, and most people are not exactly sure how well we are doing. You could think about the economy, maybe that's very, very important. You could think about southern Kaduna, and what's going on. But perhaps don't limit it to southern Kaduna. You could think of marauding Fulani herdsmen and people dying. What is going on? Why are the authorities apparently helpless? I mentioned Kaduna the other time. Why is the governor not able to just stamp it out? Why is the president not able to stamp it out? What exactly is going on? And then the Senate threw out the president's nomination for the EFCC, Magu, and said, President, give us another person. It does look as if it's pretty, what is that airplane word, turbulent right now in the polity. How would you agree with that, or is this overstating the case?
How do you want me to start, Yori?
Anywhere you will.
Well, my first shot to say this unfortunate declaration. At the close of 2016, it appeared very much that we already have a divided presidency. Two, that it appeared to quite a number of us, unfortunately, that President Buhari is no more in control of his government. Things that you have mentioned are divided into segments. About the state of the economy, our people are justified in making strong statements that the government has not lived to its bidding, that the promises made have been significantly shattered. I'm not about to blame President Buhari for all that had happened because of the status of the level of poverty in town when he took over. But I dare say that all the policy measures he had adopted had not resulted into any meaningful positive changes in the lives of our people, but who have been badly governed.
When they speak about the economy, for instance, they often cite the fact that, look, global economic trends, there was a general downturn that nobody would have planned for. The price of oil went through the floor, and et cetera, et cetera. All of these have to factor into the economy.
That was the reason, that's the main reason why I said I am not about to blame President Buhari for the terrible state of the economy. I'm aware of that, and only unfair-minded people will heap all the blame on him. Because apart from the global recession, for whatever it was, here was a situation where by the time he came in, Nigeria was pumping out virtually 2.1 million barrels of oil every day, averagely 100 million, but $100 per barrel. But you need to remember that the prices went down up to $28. So, and then the Delta Avengers have done some terrible job to sabotage the only means of earning foreign exchange. Nigeria has been a mono economy
Yes.
for the past 25 years, unfortunately.
Oshibaji just got on that particular, horse. He's going to sort of try to break it, going over there and meeting with the people.
I hope he will not be the first person that has done that. In fact, Dr. Jonathan did that under Yaradua. What was the result? People, perhaps they're not clearly minded. And then those of them in governance are hedged in with a narrow view and perspective of what is happening.
Well, I beg your pardon for interrupting you, but let me go back to what you started with, that President Buhari is presiding over a sort of a divided presidency.
That is what really can be clearly stated as to what had happened in the case of his nomination of Ibrahim Magu as the chairman of EFCC. He submitted that list to the Senate, the Nigerian Senate, for 6 months. That confirmation was not done, and Nigerian state was resting on his oar, did nothing until the Senate was empowered to do an hatchet job. While the Nigerian presidency sent the name of Magu to the Senate for confirmation, another arm of Nigerian presidency, namely Department of State Security Services, wrote a scurrilous, pretentious, very irresponsible report as allegation against Magu to the Senate. And what were they? That yes, when he was edged out of EFCC, they found some files in his house. What were you expecting to find in the home of a high-level officer of that nature when, by the time he was leaving office, he was not told that he would be transferred out of EFCC? So was he not allowed to work on files? And the coalition of NGO, civil society organization against corruption, said one of the files he was treating was that of the petition against Bukola Saraki. Now, Nigeria Senate president, by whatever means he got there.
Yes.
So how can that be an offense?
Yeah,
please,
okay.
Please. The second allegation against Magu was that he rented and he was living in an apartment rented for him by someone who was being investigated. Very funny statement. And the Federal Capital Territory Development Authority had come out, quite frankly, that they rented that place and they gave it out to Magu. Magu had no hand in the rent. He spent no kobo on his furniture. So, and those were the allegations.
So spurious complaints.
Very spurious complaints. But then, the thing is much more serious than that. That the Nigerian president, after this had happened, now said he was setting up a committee headed by the Attorney General now to investigate the allegation against Magu and the Secretary of State government. One or two things are arisen from that. By that, President Buhari is saying that he did not do a background check on Magu before nominating him to be the chairman of EFCC. That is a dent on his own integrity. Number two, if President Buhari will appreciate, and I think he should, if he does not, if he's allowing himself to be told falsehood, he should know that the only thing going on for him is the fact that we saw him as someone who is a marathon runner in fighting corruption, not a relay racer. Now, but that's the only thing going on for him. The international community and funders are really trying to assist him to get over the spirit of crisis of governance that he is facing. Is because of that commitment to fight corruption. And if he's allowing the head of the major body of the anti-corruption graft agencies, is allowing that person to be so humiliated in the manner that the Senate had done, it is unfortunate. And I dare say to him, I repeat, if he failed to do what he needed to do to get Magu confirmed he could have lost significant majority of those of his admirers and people who are significant in raising up and whipping up sentiment and mobilizing people for, to vote for him in 2015. He could have lost most of them. Because if you talk about the economy, Nigeria have not had it better than what it was. It is, like I said, that may not be entirely his fault, but the policy option he had adopted had not worked. So this one that, for which we are very, this one for which quite a number of us are supporting him for, which is the anti-corruption war, he ought to hold it very strongly and do much more than he had done till date.
Okay, I've got to go to a break now, but we'll be right back and I'll look at some aspects of your analysis. Stay with us, please. We'll be right back. Okay, welcome back. Looking at matters arising in the country, so many, spots that we could touch on. But Mr. Okwadokun has given us an analysis of his take on the state of the nation, especially as it relates to the economy and some things like that. But and corruption. Anti-corruption war seems to be the only thing going for President Buhari right now.
Yes.
Now, I also wanted to mention, because you also brought it up earlier, that look, there's an increasingly warm relationship going on right now between the president, maybe presidency, and Bukola Saraki, maybe the Senate. No, that's a good thing ordinarily.
But it's a very worrisome thing to many of us. This is not a matter about persons. Some of us are not in the business of wanting to discuss persons, but institutions. But persons make institutions occasionally. With regard to the Nigeria presidency, while some of us felt very offended to the tardiness of President Buhari's attitude over this Magu's nomination, is the fact that he cannot pretend that he does not know the composition of the Nigerian Senate and its leadership. that a significant chunk of them are facing criminal prosecution by the EFCC. And those are the people who are the vanguard of being asked to confirm Magu. In collaboration with the other politically exposed persons, governors, past governors, ministers and the likes, how would they willingly want to confirm Magu? That's how we thought that Magu was being ridiculed. And that would be a terrible stain. It will not make decent public officials to be willing to take up such challenges any longer.
You see, this is the problem I have in trying to understand this. I see increasingly warm relations between the president and Saraki, and then the Magu story happens. So I'm looking at, wait a minute, what's going on?
You see, people like us, when we talk, it's from the abundance of what we know, not what somebody told us. These are people who live on falsehood all their lives. It's the dynasty. I'm honest when I say this. The dynasty of Saraki has always lived a lie. The father was born.
Well, he's not here to defend himself, unfortunately.
It should, because the father told Nigerians that he was a Malian. When we knew that he was from Egba and his mother was from Ishayin.
You're speaking like this because you're from Kwara State yourself.
I'm from Ofa. Yes. And we know the story, that there has no link at all with Kwara. Yet they do a lot of nonsense. Look, a man who had anticipated what was going to steal in public office and fill the form, ICPC, now he's been charged. He's been charged before before ICPC court.
Thank you.
And then
so that hasn't been proved yet.
But that criminal prosecution is on, and you are now asking that man and the people to confirm is the man who has taken him to court for prosecution. Look,
so what was Buhari thinking?
I thought that President Buhari must be mistaken. He must be having and we thought he should be more clearly headed, that sending Magu to them for such a time without clearance was a misnomer. It was a misjudgment.
But there's no escaping the Senate approval for anybody who he sends.
But then he ought to have done his work.
Okay.
The Nigerian presidency, even in accordance with her constitution, has some sufficient power and authority to leverage if he was ready to do so. Yes, some people said the thing where the name of Magu was sent when Buhari was on leave. What did that matter? Or he officially handed over to Professor Yemi Oshibajo, his vice president. Even if could that be the reason? And when you know that already there's that division in the presidency, you are asking an attorney general is part of a part of that division, now to be writing another report on Magu. I thought they're taking us for too much.
What do you think this is going to do to the perceived war and successes in the war against corruption?
Funders, those who are collaborating externally with their resources and logistics to help advance the cause of anti-corruption in Nigeria are already getting worried. The embassies are already calling for some responses from the Nigerian government, from the Nigerian state. That's the truth of the matter. And we must be worried about it. Because if we lose it this time, there are evidences now showing the chances of our regaining our nationhood is becoming slimmer and slimmer. Let me tell you, Yori, why people like us are getting totally disenchanted. We didn't secure this sole Fourth Republic on the platter of gold. Some of us lost blood, some lost their sweat, some lost their liberty and freedom, some lost their homes, and some people even lost their lives. In fact, one of us just died 3 days ago. Come to that friend on the struggle to restore democracy to Nigeria. And we thought if we did, the quality of living standard of our people will be enhanced terrifically. But unfortunately for us, the current political operators were one and the same. They were all part of the 5 fingers of the leprous hand that Abacha created. They don't know where the shoe is pinching.
Well, don't forget that the one-word mantra with which this administration arrived is change.
That has not manifested, unfortunately. That is not manifest. It is still the same set of people. But then let me lay it frankly. We are still under the grip of the Nigerian military. Since they captured Nigerian power, on January 15, 1966, they have taken hold of our country, and they regarded us as part of the spoil of office. They are still in charge.
The Nigerian people.
We are part of the spoil of office.
And as you know, there have been complaints. There have been complaints that, wait a minute, when you look at our whole security apparatus, I mean, let's be detached about it. There's too much of a preponderance of northern, talent.
Go and look at the list as released on the internet. You'll be sorry for us. But I thought that President Buhari should appreciate that election will soon come. Certainly by this time next year, they must start getting themselves ready for certain things. And if they look at the population, the last statistics of the Nigerian population census that I look at, the configuration is almost 50-50. If the Nigerian president, as he seems to be doing, is concentrating all his major appointments to one section of the religious group, is making a great mistake. And we must be ready to stew in his own juice at that critical time. I told them when President Jonathan was ignoring the Southwest zone here, and then people were saying, they should go and beg him. Number 1 to 42. There are no Yoruba man that was in the place. I say, Yoruba people are not the type who will go cup in hand, begging for what really belongs to them. I'm saying this here also. You see, it has gotten to a stage where the Nigerian government is failing to respond to the most important duty and responsibility of governance. That is the defense and protection of life and property. The herdsmen.
Internal security.
Internal security. The Fulani herdsmen are busy rampaging the entire land, particularly in the northern part of the country. Adamawa, Taraba. The Taraba one, apart from burning down people's homes and killing them, they have even beheaded policemen. Not to come to Southern Kaduna, to what they've done in recent past. Is this President Buhari telling us that he does not have enough decent, qualified, professional security and intelligence group to provide him with actionable intelligence to counter, to deter, to prevent the occurrence of those dastardly murders?
This is the worry.
That's been happening.
This is the worry. Because
after he kept silent for almost about 6-8 weeks, when the Christians from Southern Kaduna were begging government come and protect us, and he did not until the harm had been done. Over 800 souls have been slaughtered by the Fulani herdsmen. Now you are not stationing the general officer commanding the 1st Division to come and station one of his garrison there. This Inspector General of Police, they are going to put some police post or that kind of thing.
So you think all of that is too little, too late?
Not only too late, it is quite ridiculous. What they've done is to make some of us look too little, as if we have no sense.
I'm going to go to another break. When we come back, we'll take your questions as well, your phone-ins. Welcome back. Mr. Ayo Okwadokun, convener CODA, He's a lawyer, a journalist, and a statesman. And he's been highly critical of the state of our affairs, that it's a disappointment. It isn't sort of a lone opinion, because increasingly in the public space, people are complaining that, look, we knew it was not going to be a tea party, but people don't seem to be maybe satisfied. Maybe it's because they don't know enough that all that can be done is being done. We've looked at some examples: confusion within the polity, Magu, president sends him over, Senate throws it out, marauding Fulani herdsmen all over the place, governments, both Kaduna, for example, and the president unable to do anything about it. And it isn't just in Kaduna. It almost looks that, are we losing control or something?
We are, deliberately so.
That's a problem.
Deliberately so. It is not because, I don't believe that it's because the Nigerian state can't do nothing. It's deliberately achieving the purpose set for itself. Which they can argue to the contrary, but the evidence of what you see is what we are talking about. Look, you will remember that there was conflagration. There have been series in Kaduna from a long time ago. And if you know the historicity of what is called Kaduna, when Katsina was created out of Kaduna State, out of the northern one, and made the southern Kaduna Kaduna area now to have a less number of local government. Remember, there was one major one under Babangida's government. Terrible violence that was unleashed because the natives rejected imposition of the Emir of Zaria that have been sent to come and be their traditional rulers. That was the major crisis of the Jos North, if you remember. Now, this one has also been rejected overall, but the Fulani leadership are insisting on holding on to their sovereignty, evil regime, oligarchy on the natives of southern Kaduna. That is the crisis. The one under Babangida, you know, it went to the extent that as the kind of facade that the Nigerian state will always do, Babangida set up one character to preside over a so-called judicial panel. And so many southern leaders, southern Kaduna leaders, were sentenced to death, including the distinguished, reputable, credible General Zamani Lekwot. It took the pain of some serious pressure on Babangida before Zamani was left off the hook by not being hanged, but he was still kept in prison until some time. Quite a number of those people are feeling humiliated. They've been calling for the creation of their own state for long, but because they have not been in control of government, their own have not been responded to. Why did Babangida create? Why did he create the so-called Kogi State? If you look on the day he was announcing the creation of Kogi State, you will find out that the state now, the Yoruba state, Yoruba element state, local government that are 6 now, they were not part of what he wanted to create, but to minoritize the Yoruba element of Kwara and Kogi and now Kogi. He seeded out the Yoruba element to go and be minority in Kogi, and supposedly try to make us minority also in Kwara. So it has been a scheme, a grand scheme of the military dictatorship, really configured by the Fulani oligarchy. And they are busy doing what they are doing. Whether or not they will realize that self-determination is the anthem of this new millennium. Even their boss, the most dangerous, most ruinous imperialists, British, had been forced to cede power to Ireland. They've been forced to cede concession to Scots, land also. And people are doing everything to be on their own. And not until that is done, in the case of Southern Kaduna, there will be no respite. And what I'm saying is that the way the Christians have been treated over these matters, because the ones in Taraba, in Adamawa, in Benue, they have the same nature. Most of the ones who have been treated, who have been chased out of their home, their houses burnt, their farmland taken over by the herdsmen, are Christians. But when it happened, a little one happened in Igbo land, and 3 Fulani men were assaulted. The Nigerian state went on the offensive. The Nigerian army base there went to go and arrested all the young men in that environment, locked them up for quite a long time. Then the police were then active. The election time will soon come. That's why those of us who thought we had confidence in Buhari, that we knew in 1984 till he was unfairly removed from office by his chief of army staff. It's not the same Buhari that you now find.
Maybe
I say for him.
Yes, but maybe
look. I say for him to before I end up that one. The nonsense that taking place under Obasanjo by ceding out our territory, Bakassi, to Cameroon, couldn't have taken place under Buhari, because I remember that by November of 1983, when the Cameroonian gendarmes tried to invade Nigeria, Buhari, as the general officer commanding the 3rd Division, he went on the offensive. He flushed them out before Shagari started begging him.
Now,
that's a man that I will always regard as a terrifically strong character, not the one I'm saying now.
Okay. Now, Buhari, the military man, if you want, the military dictator, is different from Buhari, the politician.
And again, it's
a
20 something years difference.
Yes. So Buhari has to operate within the law. They say once a soldier, always a soldier. You see times when the president is irritated. At least that's the appearance one gets, that these things are just hampering me. But he has to operate within the law. Maybe you're being overly critical, considering that the way to operate in a democracy is different from it in a military.
Well, the unfortunate thing was this. Remember, he himself, when he was elected, he said he was a president of nobody.
It belongs to everybody and belongs to nobody, whatever that means.
Remember that he was sponsored by people. A group of people packaged themselves together to form what they call APC. And they had an objective. They wanted to capture power. And they said these were the promises they were going to execute if they got into office. You cannot say, therefore, having been elected on that platform, you voluntarily sought to be allowed, to be given that opportunity. And having been so sponsored and you won, then you say you are distancing yourself, you are now a statesman, you are not a politician any longer. It was a wrong understanding of the chemistry of civilian governance.
Indeed.
He ought to have known that.
Let me take Reverend Dominic, who is calling. Good morning, Reverend Dominic.
Oh, good morning, Yori. Happy New Year.
Indeed. Compliments to you.
I am the same page with our daddy there. Many years ago, they were in front. We are the foot soldiers in Nadeko.
Thank you.
Buhari had become a disappointment. Number one, Buhari had become a disappointment. For them to enter a battle with Bukola Saraki, to change the configuration of the National Assembly, to keep Saraki as a chief, sorry to mention that word, a man who is under trial, to make him now a part of APC that will engineer 2019 is a disappointment. We're waiting for him. In the church yesterday, I said it openly. I have no regret voting for him. Because the same weakness of the presidency is what we start schooling of children. When our children were killed in Abuja, in Enugu, in name of immigration, in recruitment, we thought the 10 minister would go. He compromised with the same story with David Mark in Senate, not to start up a model. When he was yesterday, 2 days ago, there was this report, sir. They are not debunking that the Chibo case were somewhere in a government house in Borno for 8 months. And Goodluck Jonathan, with all the powers in his hand, could not deliver these children from the hands of politicians That is why we said this government will go. Now listen to me. If the chairman went away from government house without quarreling, without no bloodshed, Fulani boy will also leave without quarreling. 2019 is here. They must go. Now they're playing football with us for class like it to humiliate Nigerians in all fronts. How could Bukola Saraki remain in state presidency today? Standing a trial, not accusation, a trial that's obvious. And they have delayed that trial. They will run from now to 2019. We are waiting for Buhari again.
Indeed. Thank you very much. You know, before Buhari, President Buhari, assumed office, people were very, very hopeful that things were not going to be the same as before. We need to change. But it looks like when President Buhari got in office, perhaps the practical reality of working now, maybe people begin to say, well, Oga, a lot of those things that you were saying at that time, actually, this is how it works, this is how it works. Because you've seen that it hasn't gone the way one would have thought that it would go. Why, for instance, is President Buhari not able to take out this whole vexatious problem of Christians feeling that they are being victimized and people are looking the other way?
Look so for example, there are so many things that are not going on well for him. I don't just want to criticize him.
Yes. Sorry, sir. Let me add Mr. Amoke Odo, calling in from Lekki, I believe. Good morning.
Yes, good morning.
Thank you for calling in, sir.
Thank you. You see, on this program some time ago, I suggested we look for another form of government. Because, like you really said, Uncle Yori there, democracy is just not working. That is the truth of the matter. Because democracy is really not meant for black men. And it cannot work here. Even the Americans are beginning to regret practicing democracy. Otherwise, the character like Trump will not be the president today. So what we are saying is that democracy where 99 stupid people can gather themselves and once they are in the majority, they make the day, and one sensible person will only have his say, he will never have his way. I think it is really cannot work here. I don't know what we want the president to do. Because we are operating democracy and democracy is making him handicapped. If he has his way, what is happening in Kaduna to southern Kaduna today will not arise.
No.
If he has his way, he will not allow the Senate president to still be in government by now. He will have resigned. If he doesn't have his way, that is what we should get. We should pity this man. It's not easy to rule this country. I'm telling you. Even from ordinary the thought, the estate, the wrong instinct, who fight every day.
He doesn't understand.
Please, let us continue to pray for this man. Let us continue to love this country. And let us know that, look, by now we should be looking for alternatives to democracy.
Thank you very much. And I've got to go to a quick break, but when I come back, you'll be a reaction. Stay with us, please. Okay, welcome back. Home stretch now, and I understand Mr. George is on the line. Good morning, Mr. George.
Good morning, Uncle Yori. Happy New Year.
Indeed. Compliments of the season. Thank you very much for calling in.
Nice to have you back. I missed you.
All right, then.
Uncle Yori, the problem or the biggest mistake that Mr. President has made is distancing himself from Tinubu. I've said it before, and I will continue to say it. We all know that. I missed you.
All right, then.
Uncle Yori, the problem or the biggest mistake that Mr. President has made is distancing himself from Tinubu. I've said it before, and I will continue to say it. We all know that he is a man of integrity, but he's not a politician. Mr. Tinubu was the one that made it possible for that presidency of Buhari to happen. And they had a plan. The plan they had a strategy. Tinubu is a strategist. And without a strategic advisor, Buhari will not be able to go this far. That is why what is happening. That is why somebody like Saraki can become Senate president. That is why Magu cannot be confirmed. That is why so many things are happening. The people that seem to have hijacked the system are not part of the plan. That is the simple thing. I hope somebody who knows Mr. President will tell him this in plain language so that we'll get out of the quagmire. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Yori, please, let me start by addressing the remarks of the last but one caller, that you have you need an alternative to democracy. The humanity has not created a better alternative to democratic governance, in the sense that, unlike the state of nature, that is British, where the biggest, the most powerful, did whatever they did against the others. Under democracy, the rule of law is supposed to be the guide to say this is the boundary between the two of us. But let me say something. I think the other man got himself wrong.
Which one? Well, which
the one who was clamoring for an alternative. Okay. What is wrong is not democracy. What is wrong is the currently warped, skewed, lopsided national structure which the military foisted on Nigeria, particularly since the revenge coup of July 1966.
Okay, that's Mr. Amoke-Odo, who said that, Mr. Amoke-Odo.
Amoke-Odo. That is what is wrong with our country. Nigeria secured its independence on the federal constitutional arrangement, where the regions even had their constitution. The center was not in control. The center could not dictate to the regions. They were collaborating at the center. Each region had control over its own resources. They were paying 50% of what they got from such mineral resources that were exported. 50% was sent to the central government, out of which another 30% of which was put in a what they call the joint pool, common pool, that was again distributed equally on some parameters. Now, since the military came, and because the commander-in-chief was at the head, everyone at the region or the state was at his beck and call. So they totally subverted federal arrangement, federal constitution. We have been centrally governed since that July 1966. Okay. So Nigeria had been living a lie by calling itself a federal republic. We have been a unitarily governed people, and that is what is wrong.
What do you think? What do you think of the idea contributed by Mr. George that, look, when they were planning, there was a team.
I don't know about that.
When they were planning this whole journey, there was a team. But now that the team is in place, there's been a falling apart of former partners.
Hasn't Buhari's wife made that pronouncement that those who fought to ensure that her husband become the Nigerian president are in no place now? That the current people in governance who are not controlling almost everything are strange elements she even never knew as the wife of the president. That should tell you something. Something is wrong. And that's what I'm saying.
Does the president have
time?
Sorry, sir. Having said all of this, do you think, after all, the president is a man, he's not God, do you think he has the time to fix this and still make a difference? Because the promise was so high when it was coming. The goodwill, I imagine his account is not exactly depleted yet.
It's terrifically depleted. That's the truth of the matter. We are civil society leaders, and we have access to the large crowd of the downtrodden. people like us who are down, that's why we fear no fall again. Because, but the people come to us, we see their plight. So the change mantra totally has gotten to a disreputable coinage. It is possible if the minders of President Buhari will take up the challenge. They are about 18 or 19 months in office now.
But when you talk about minders, when President Obasanjo was there, he also had those so-called minders. Nevertheless, everybody knew exactly where OBJ was going.
It's unstable. The ball stopped unstable. But I'm saying that you will only be guided by the kind of thing you wish for. When people bring you advice that will not help you, if you are sufficiently intelligent enough, you can refuse those.
Okay,
that's why
I got to bring on. Sorry, I got to bring on Mr. Owolafe. Is that Mr. Owolafe? Lekki?
Yeah, I really appreciate it. Welcome. You are looking fine now.
So I was not looking fine before. Compliments of the season.
Thank you very much. I still appreciate this your program today. What I want to tell the people is that I want to let you know one thing. Democracy, as what the man said from the election that time, democracy is the one which really weak to the extent that there is so many things that Buhari can see. If I want to tell you, upon Catasera, let us know president, how he corrupt Buhari. Upon that, he got as the same president. This is not democracy. In other countries, as you have going to a tribunal like that, what you need to do is to step down. But the man not step down. What does Buhari need to do? Is it the Buhari? It's not the Buhari. What I want to let you know of Adoku is that democracy is the one who beats Buhari. Buhari is kind. He's tried. But when he
Thank you very much, Mr. Owolafe. So if I understood him properly, it is democracy that is troubling President Buhari and has tied him up in bounds. Otherwise, the man is the lion that we all know.
It is not true. I've given indication, maybe he was not listening. I've given indication to show my position. I'm not just...
When you say it's not true, are you saying that the president is not all he seemed to be?
At all. I'm saying the president we knew, Buhari we knew, January 1994, is totally different from the Buhari of today.
So what has changed him?
I don't know. Age? Or some measure. And I'm talking about the warped, skewed, lopsided nature of the Nigerian national structure. That had also manifested in our governance to our detriment. It is the same thing that has led us to abandoning what we call fiscal federalism. Because the responsibility, what is the central government? What is its business in agriculture really?
You know, because we're running out of time, you've been quite critical, and you know that's your prerogative. But you support you support this whole effort at a new Nigeria, a reborn Nigeria. Have you lost hope entirely because you've been sounding, you know, very disappointed?
I am not about to say I've lost hope totally. I am one of the vanguard who believe strongly in the possibility of redemption for the configuration called Nigeria.
Okay.
But we must be mindful of the following two critical matters.
Okay.
Nigeria was not a creation of the Nigerian people. It was created by the British imperialists for their own economic and political interests at the detriment of the individual ethnic nationalities of Nigeria.
And we never took it over.
We never took it over. We were never allowed. And until Nigerian nationalities sit down together in a representative assembly to answer the national question, this national crisis will not go. If you wait till the next election, God forbid.
Well, we're going to have to leave it there, Mr. Ayopadokun, and thank you very, very much. You know, you always will call it the way you see it. There are times in the past when it was very much in support, but hey, they've arrived, and I'm not sure what's going on, so I got to just revise my stance. Thank you very much for coming on. We'll be back tomorrow, God willing, with a fresh edition. I'm Yori Folani. Bye-bye for now.